Let's talk about the Gilded Age. It all starts with two wealthy industrialists, Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller. These guys are going to be two of the richest people that have ever lived. Carnegie is going to make a steel company. Rockefeller is going to make an oil company. They're going to use their power and their wealth to create what we call a monopoly, otherwise known as a trust. When they do this, they go out and get rid of and buy up their competition and the means of production in order to raise their prices. For instance, Rockefeller, being a oil industrialist, will go out and buy all the oil companies he can find, so he's the only one that sells oil. If he does this, he can sell it at any price he wants to, and we know he wants to do it at a high price. These industrialists, like many others as well, will have famously or infamously bad working conditions, low wages for employees, long hours, dangerous conditions where people could get hurt or die. And they also will have connections with government officials that are going to be corrupt and help protect these conditions, these wages and hours from being rid of in Congress. People will refer to these guys as robber barons. That they're evil, that they are robbing people of their pay, robbing workers of their time, robbing people of their health and their safety. So some people may say they're bad. That is them being called a robber baron. Others might say they might be good. They provide thousands of factory jobs for people. They bring a lot of new innovations that are coming out to the market so people can take advantage of them. Like the light bulb created by Thomas Edison is going to allow people to work at night, more time to work. The Bessemer process will revolutionize how fast iron can be turned into steel. The telephone, created by Alexander Graham Bell, will create a lot of communication efficiency where we can place orders and cause things to move more quickly with those orders. A lot of urbanization, people moving to the cities growing, new innovations like tall, strong skyscrapers that are built out of steel as well as bridges. Resources like oil, like iron and steel will be provided for more plentifully provided rather. Increased transportation will help create the railroads, will help create the trains with things like the steel that Carnegie will make, and will help move the resources across the country and allow for further development and industrialization in the country. Okay, philanthropy, the act of donating and giving all these guys' fortunes. These industrialists, Rockefeller, Carnegie, will give lots of their fortunes to build libraries, to build schools and universities, hospitals and foundations. Carnegie is going to famously say the best means of benefiting the community is to place within its reach the ladders upon which the aspiring can rise. This was his Gospel of Wealth speech, saying that the best way we can help the poor and the needy is not just to give them money, but to help place ladders, ways that they can climb up out of poverty and help themselves. Things like schools and universities, things like libraries where they could learn new skills, get an education, and help themselves. For this reason, some people might refer to these industrialists as captains of industry. So they could be referred to as robber barons, as a bad way, as a bad thing for society, hurting their workers, being corrupt. Or they can provide lots of services, giving away their money with philanthropy, helping build cities, bringing new innovations to market. Okay, so we could look at Carnegie as a good person, or Rockefeller as a captain of industry, a good industrialist. But other groups called labor unions are going to fight back against these wages, these low wages, these long hours, these dangerous and bad conditions. So labor meaning work or workers, unions when people come together. Labor unions are when workers collectively come together to fight for better hours, better conditions, and better wages. So there's going to be two labor unions you need to know. We have the Knights of Labor led by this guy, Terence Powderly. It's going to be a very unorganized group where they can't decide how to organize, how to fight back and get better wages, better hours, and better conditions. They also had problems with deciding who should be in this labor union. Should it be skilled workers? Should it be unskilled workers? For that reason, kind of everybody could join. This led to a lot of conflict. The thing that really was the nail in the coffin for the Knights of Labor was the Haymarket Square riot, where a bomb exploded in every at a protest, and a lot of people blamed the Knights of Labor. So everybody left. The Knights of Labor kind of fell apart. The one that actually is going to work out is called the AFL, the American Federation of Labor. It's still around today. It was led by Samuel Gompers. It was organized more successfully. They only allowed for skilled workers to join, which made it more stable. They're gonna successfully get things like Labor Day for us. They're gonna get better hours, better conditions, better wages for workers. This labor union will work out. During this time, there's also going to be different types of immigrants coming into the country. So we have often had old immigrants and the older immigrants who have been here the longest arrived here before 1890, the first part of U.S. history, right? They were from Northern and Western Europe, places like Great Britain. They spoke English. They had similar religions to people in America. They assimilated for this reason. They adapted and became more American more easily. The new immigrants are where there's going to start to be problems. The new immigrants are going to arrive after 1890. They're going to be from Southern and Eastern Europe, places that don't speak English as much, places that don't have the same type of religion. They're going to not assimilate as easily. They're not going to adapt and become more American. And they're mostly coming for all these new jobs in these factories that people like Carnegie and Rockefeller own, which is going to create a lot of resentment and hatred towards them. This will increase what we call nativism, the distrusting, the disliking of foreigners. And it even gets so bad that some immigrants like the Chinese are going to be excluded with laws like the Chinese Exclusion Act, which is going to pass at this time, which is going to literally stop Chinese immigrants from coming into this country. Another issue that's happening during this time is the rise of political machines, people that are going to get elected into city office to try to use the power of the city to help themselves. Now, there's going to be some good things about political machines. They're going to help out the needy. They're going to help out the immigrants, help them assimilate, help them get government IDs, find a place to live, find a place to job in return for votes, which is kind of a corrupt thing. They're going to help actually build up the city infrastructure. A lot of things are going to get done in cities because these people pushed it through. But they're also going to be pretty bad. Like I said, they're going to require these immigrants that they help to vote for them. That's a little bit corrupt. They are going to steal money from the city and kick it back to themselves and make themselves rich through these things that we call kickbacks. And like I said, they were very, very corrupt individuals. One of the most corrupt and famous political machines was Boss Tweed in New York City. So one thing I did forget to mention is another issue workers were having was child labor, which unfairly hurt young kids who had hearing problems, stunted growth, and made very little money. But this period was called the Gilded Age because it looked really good on the outside. You had great skyscrapers, bridges, new innovations, lots of factories. You look in the distance and you never see something as big as a skyscraper, but we look at all the problems on the inside. Low wages for workers, long hours, corruption of political machines and by these wealthy industrialists, nativism towards immigrants. These were all negative things that created a kind of a corrupt underbelly in society in America. If this helped you, consider subscribing.